Good evening, folks. Welcome to the regular select board meeting of June 7th, 2022. I'll be doing my best to try to run this meeting remotely, suffering under COVID, which I tested positive for on Saturday. I probably had it from like Wednesday of last week on. Pretty severely bad head and chest cold, but I'll survive. And thank you very much. Would you join Mary in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll start our meeting.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the orders are circulating, or have they circulated?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. The next order of business will be the approval of the minutes of May 24th. We'll have them in front of you.
Move we approve. Second.
Have motion's been made and seconded. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of May 24th? Anyone? I have a few correction and an addition. If you go to page 3, under Ed Dumas's report, under number 4, Chairman Chaffee thanked Chief Dumas and Deputy Chief Washburn. I'd like to add, because it was an omission of mine, actually, I'd like to add, and Town Administrator Bill Sweet, because Bill actually worked along with Ted to craft the masterful letter that obviously Congressman Welch responded positively to. So I'd like to get that corrected. And then you go to page 4, the next page. Under John Paul Faignant's report, Mr. Faignant was not present, but, and after but, I would like you to add Chairman Chaffee provided a report to be read. Since I did give the report, and actually I want to do that because at some point I may have to rub that pretty heavily into Mr. Faignant. So just for accuracy.
He was the one. Well, wasn't he the one who provided the report?
Well, he provided it to me verbally and I transmitted it, but it wasn't written. I did it all from memory. So basically he told me what he did and I gave a report for him. But he didn't actually give the report. I did. So, and if you'd go to page 5, under the Personnel Committee, discuss the bids with Otter Creek and so forth. Motion passed 4-0. And there's a statement in there about we may have some volunteers. I would like that to more accurately reflect the discussion, because it was Chairman Chaffee indicated that he has a neighbor, an emergency room physician, who is experienced in trail building, who would be willing to volunteer both time and his equipment on this project. And Bill, you don't have to worry about the squiggles. I can get them into you on this, but I'd like that to be reflected in there. And that concludes any additions that I have. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of acceptance with the additions, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Minutes will carry 4-1, circulate for signature. Bill, you usually leave all this stuff on my desk in any case, so,
Okay,
uh,
that I heard that voice.
and I would sign them. Okay, announcements. I have like 3, but I will defer to any other board member first that has any announcements. Well, first of all, on behalf of the town of Rutland and on behalf of our select board, and personally on behalf of my fellow veterans that didn't make it, I would like to extend the town's grateful appreciation to the volunteer fire department of this town. It's easy to assume that these things are going to happen, but we shouldn't. On a weekend when others are having barbecues and whatever, we have a volunteer fire department that's in a pretty hot uniform and marching in a parade with pride. And they did on Memorial Day present the town of Rutland with great pride in not only one, but in 2 parades, one in Pittsford and one in West Rutland. And again, on behalf of the town, I thank you very much. Warms my heart. Secondly, I'd like to offer the town's thanks. If you were coming in tonight, I think maybe you didn't look quite to the right as you came in the door, but there's some very beautiful flowers planted in front of our building, our office. And we kind of tend to take that for granted as well, and we shouldn't. I'd like to thank Mary, especially Mary, but her supervisor, Marty, who was laboring under a rotator cuff repair, but he was offering really, really good sound advice. Just kidding. But they spent some quality time and they presented a beautiful, beautiful offering to the public that passes by our town hall. So I'd like to thank them. And lastly, and I'm jumping a little bit because I made a mistake with Bill. I mean, they put Dave down on the department head list, which isn't exactly correct, but I'd like to formally introduce Dave Sears, our new highway commissioner. And Dave, if you would simply come up to the presentation table there, and I'd like to welcome you to the town. And Dave comes to us from Rutland City, where he's had a long and pretty distinguished career, actually, working for 7 years as a project manager responsible for some pretty weighty projects under Commissioner Wenberg. The town, I'll read the letter, so because it's it was just sent to him, and it isn't really public, but it can be. I don't see any reason why not. And I've spoken to Dave about this previously anyway. On behalf of the town of Rutland and my fellow select board members, I'm pleased to be able to offer you the position of road commissioner for the town, subject to the terms and conditions to which we both have agreed. This position is offered at a starting rate of $30 per hour and will commence upon your acceptance of the position and those terms, and also upon your successful completion of a CDL background investigation. Congratulations and welcome to Rutland Town family of dedicated employees. We all look forward to working with you for the betterment of Rutland Town. And Dave has graciously accepted this offer. So welcome, Dave, to the town of Rutland. It's a pleasure to have you sitting where you're sitting right now.
Thank you.
Don,
floor-
could I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure. Was that subject to a criminal background check? Because you'd already done the CDL check.
Yes, criminal background check was done.
I don't believe it was. So we should probably just make it subject to the criminal background check.
That's fine.
He doesn't seem too upset by that.
My Alcatraz time
Well,
doesn't show up anymore.
Well, the chief was instructed to do so, so we'll have to give him a slap on the wrist, but I'm sure everything will be fine. Dave, the floor is
They got
yours.
interrupted.
Oh,
They got interrupted when they were trying to do it, so.
Okay. Well, I just have a quick little statement. After careful consideration, I am pleased to formally accept the offer made to me on May 26th for the position of road commissioner. I'm looking forward to bringing my skills and experience to the town. Together, I have no doubt that we will continue to make Rutland Town a wonderful place to live, work, and play. I would like to encourage the town residents to feel comfortable to contact me directly with their concerns regarding the town's infrastructure. And thank you for this opportunity.
thank you, Dave. And
Welcome.
Thank you.
Don, I'd like to say something.
Sharon,
Don,
go ahead, Sharon.
yeah, I think while we're doing that, I'd like to really thank Walt and Jason both, who stepped in the middle of all this and picked up the pieces and did one hell of a job waiting for somebody to come in. And Walt made it perfectly clear, I'm not interested in running anything. You know, he's getting up there in age, not that you're old, I'm older than you, so you don't mind me saying that, but he did a good job, as did Jason, and I'm sure we all speak to the fact that we appreciate.
Thank you both.
So that's all.
Any other board members have a comment? Joe, you're chairman of the highway committee. I would,
my comments are pretty much the same as everybody. When this is officially done, we need to have Bill meet with Walt and Jason and Dave and get the passing of the ceremonial cell phone to the new road commissioner, because his life will revolve around that afterward.
I'm pretty sure that every time I've seen him, he's offered it to me.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sure,
here we go again.
Every time.
I'm equally sure that he will be glad to make the handoff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he has to
welcome
spend some
aboard, Dave.
time at his camp.
I'm going to, I told Dave that not to be too ultra concerned about me being a little bit weird and different, because I've always prided myself in being just enough different so that, well, in any case, it's part of your packet because it was part of the background checking that Chief Dumas did, and I would like to read this at the expense of David's head getting as big as mine feels, but it's deserving, and I really feel that the townspeople, as a matter of public record, and the board hear this. And this is from Ed Dumas when he did the background check. At the request of the select board, I had the administrative secretary check David Sears' license and confirm that he had a valid CDL license with no points on same. I contacted Jeff Winberg as he was listed as a reference. Jeff was Dave Sears' direct supervisor for 7 years. Dave listed Jeff as a friend. Jeff described Dave as an asset to the city of Rutland. They do not realize what they are losing. If there was a task, mission, or job that needed to get done, Dave would make sure that it was done. If he ran into problems, Dave was the person to figure it out. If he couldn't solve the problem himself, he would go to those who had the answers to help him solve the problem. Dave took care of all the issues to keep the other DPW crews working. He was responsible for making all the calls to DigSafe, getting all the materials ready needed for each job, and had a backup plan for other jobs if they ran into problems. Dave was noted for his good rapport with the union members, and if there was a problem, he could get to the bottom of it to help management solve the grievance that would arise in the course of regular operations. Jeff noted he did not worry about whatever task he asked Dave to do, as he was confident the job would be done. Also, Dave was not afraid to look at technology, research it, and put forth an argument on how it could make DPW's work crews more efficient. And if he was told no, it was not a big issue. Again, Jeff could not express enough that the town of Rutland would be gaining a person more than capable of being the town road commissioner and a responsible employee. I contacted Gail Garuso, who worked with Dave at the DPW, as an equal. She described working with Dave was not a problem. They got along well and worked together on water projects, and again, Dave got things done. Gail acknowledged that she did not work with the crews at all, but relayed what needed to be done to Dave, and he facilitated that with the crews. I lastly contacted Kathy Kopinen, who is the payroll administrative and benefits manager for Rutland City. Kathy appreciated and depended on Dave every Monday morning for collecting all the pay sheets for the street department employees, making sure everything was right. Dave had a working knowledge of all the laws and policies for the city of Rutland and made Kathy's job much easier. Kathy described Dave as a responsible employee of the city, and he was always trying to save the city money with whatever project they were working. He was responsible for the street department and all the care of keeping the roads up to include plowing during the winter months, and he was in charge of equipment upkeep and repairs. Kathy believed Dave would be the same with the town of Rutland, as that is who Dave is. No matter where he lives, he would have the town's best interest and what would be best for the taxpayers. Dave was also drug tested and certified for the city of Rutland. And that concludes the report.
Ah, shucks.
How's your head?
Yeah. Good thing you didn't wear a hat tonight. You're with us.
I don't roll that way.
Well, again, congratulations, Dave, and it's a pleasure to have you aboard, and we look forward. Dave has indicated, and this is another thing that the townspeople should know and the board should know, that although Dave could actually sign on the payroll when he accepted the job, he had a trip planned for his stepson's graduation in Ohio this weekend, and he didn't feel it was fair to sign on and immediately take some kind of a personal leave. So he decided that he would go out on this trip this weekend, and then when he came back, take a week to get familiarized and start on the 20th. So the 20th will be his official start date, the 20th of June, so that everyone knows. But he's more than welcome, and he's taken the initiative to meet with the highway crews and also on projects, and you'll hear from Joe on the highway committee report. And I encourage him to, as Sharon did, to meet with Mike Rowe, because there's a lot of things that happen with town road crews help, saves the town a lot of money. And so feel free to call him, and he'll feel free to bebop around the town and learn as much as he can. But he starts on the 20th officially. Welcome again, Dave. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
All right. We're at the point of any member of the public who's not on the agenda, unless I'll ask again if there are any other announcements from board members. Hearing none. Any member of the public who's not on the agenda wish to address the board? I'm not hearing anything or seeing any hands flying around, so I guess we're going to go now to the acting road commissioner report. So Walt Tripp. Welcome, Walt, this evening.
Don't have an awful lot here. We started mowing roadsides last week. Jason's been doing that. Our paving as of now is done what can be done. We've got to do some shoulder work on Quarterline Road, fix some lawns where the pavement's high. But other than that, that's about it.
Jason, I got my stuff out of the right of way on Creek Road, so.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Any board member have a question for Walt? Comments? Everything going smooth, Walt, in the paving schedule?
Yeah, they're done what they can do right now. Town Line Road's got to wait till the box culvert's put in.
Okay,
We're up to date. Other than Cheney Hill, it depends on what's decided there.
okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
Short
Walt.
and sweet and under control. You seem to be walking with a little bit more weight off from your shoulders, Walt.
Yeah, he keeps trying to give away that phone again.
Yes. Jason Town, our acting water and sewer commissioner. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jason Bathalon.
All right, same thing.
I'm getting my Jasons
doing?
mixed up.
Just we're looking into a low water leak by the, what is it, Kurt?
It's the
Barrett Hill. Thanks, Walt. Barrett Hill had a small water leak. I worked with Howard Burgess on that. And I think that's gonna be with the fire district, his responsibilities, I guess. Because we had some testing done on it, and it's not the main line, it's like I think it's a 2-inch water main or a 2-inch overflow that's leaking somewhere. So they're gonna have to find where the end of it is and cap it off. So I guess Howard could touch base on that once we find out more. I don't think he's on today, but
down the corner.
that's all I've got.
Anyone have any questions or comments? If not, thank you very much, Jason.
You're welcome.
And thanks for stepping up again. Sharon was right. You guys deserve you guys deserve a lot of credit for stepping in the way you did.
No
It's
problem.
not easy to get thrust into something like that, not knowing, so.
I'm always willing to help if you decide to keep me at that position. I'll be happy to take it over.
Next up, be Mike Rowe, our Recreation Director.
Thank you.
Evening, Mike.
I would have thought long and hard.
Doesn't come over and shake our.
Totally
hands, does
kidding.
it?
I'm
Yeah.
Jack. Anyway, a couple things. Pool is open. We had a very good weekend with people. Everything's looking pretty. The work has been done there. I just got one last thing to work on at the pool. And getting the chemical feeder, which is ordered, but it's taken forever to get put in, but that's really not a big deal. We will open officially on the 17th at noon. That's the last day of school. That's when we open up. We will be open up this weekend, just like we were last weekend. And we have a plethora of events that are happening with the school kids that haven't happened in a while. So they're very excited to come up and use the pool. So things are going very well for the pool. We just ended T-ball. That was an extension of the day that is interesting. If you ever want to dance around with 3 and 4-year-olds, you're more than welcome to come do that. It was great. So that ended. Our regular baseball end in a couple of weeks. And that's been very well attended and a lot of fun for everyone. The fencing should be done at Dewey, that refencing that they did around the perimeter. And they were working on finishing that up today or tomorrow. And so I saw it's looking great. It looks a whole lot better than it did. That's 100% sure there. So Skip and his boys did a really good job. So thank you to them for that. I'm trying to think. Is anything earth shattering? Park is looking good. We had a cleanup day. I don't know if we had the meeting since then. That was fun. We got a lot done that day. We'll have another one. Do you have any info on the polls? from council.
That's later in the
No.
agenda.
Okay,
And yes, we did get some advice from council.
okay.
We'll have a
So-
decision tonight, Mike.
So I'll stick around for that.
Yeah, and then there
Uh,
was the Act two
Yeah,
fifty.
yep.
Yeah.
And so Act 250 was placed on your desk. Mary Beth and Andy McMillan have spent a tremendous amount of time volunteering. It's a big document, as Mary well knows. So if we could just take a look at that, and next meeting, if you're happy with it, you sign off on it, so then we can get that to the state and we know how fast they work. And once we get that back, we can start on our mountain biking trails and get going. So a big, huge thank you to them. They spent a lot of time. As you know, it's not an easy thing, especially when wetlands are thrown in there and you got to do all that little extra. So a big, big kudos for people in the town. Like I said before, things don't always get done unless we have people that are stepping forward and doing the best interest in our town. And we're very fortunate in that regard. Our lifeguards are all hired. The majority of them just got recerted or certified this weekend. So I will have a list for you next time for your approval. Just trying to think. Sharon, is there anything else?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was up there the other day watching those kids clean up, and this poor young lady, our wonderful,
Someone's got to do
our
it.
wonderful recreation director made her clean out the inlets, and she's knew there was a dead frog in there, and our wonderful gentleman over here continued to laugh at her while she was screaming bloody murder, and I headed south. I wasn't even going to assist in that one.
I have dug that thing out more times and found so many things in there. Everyone takes their turn.
Yeah, he kept
Just the
saying
return from the gutter.
there'll probably be a mouse in there. There'll probably be a mouse in there.
Oh, all the time. All the time. They go into the pool, they think they can get out, and well, they can't. And then they get swept up and then they get sucked in. You got to clean it out. I mean, it's just a part of it's like, I don't like this. I can tell you what we have pictures of what we
The
found at
thing
the
was so
bottom.
big.
This is
We
part of
found
your
stuff at the bottom.
recruiting speech when you're trying to get new.
No, we typically, and she was a veteran. She's like one of my older guys, and she knew she put on the gloves, and we put on gloves to scoop it up. You never know what you're going to find. It's just whatever goes into the pool. I mean, things happen. It is what it is. No,
They're
everything
good.
else is,
They're a good group of
they are
kids.
there. I'm very fortunate. The kids are great. They love to work. They love to do whatever is asked of
Mike,
them.
if you just would explain to them about the cracks that I was telling.
Yeah, so every year the water is let go, and I go in and I power wash it, and this year I noticed the cracks along the edge, where we had cracks before they resealed it, when they recoated the whole entire pool, whatever it was, 10 plus years ago. They're getting bigger. And so I found a sealant to put on them to hopefully make it work. So we're going to have some kind of a discussion at some point, but we know I think we're fine, but they are there. And I did fix them. I showed Sharon, just so she could see the cracks there right at the beginning.
I didn't offer to go in and get the frog
No,
though.
but it was just, no, you didn't. You ran away from that. So that's something we really have to kind of keep our eye on, but we all know this. We're planning for this. Hopefully it will last longer than it will. But right now the pool is running great. Everything is where it's supposed to be and functioning properly. So I think that's pretty much all I have. Otherwise, the 4th of July is the 3rd of July. We're still good for the 27th for our townwide celebration.
Yep.
Do you need anything more from me moving forward that you can think of that you need?
3 prizes or more pool passes for the coming
Sure.
season for the speed cart challenge that the police department will be.
Perfect. We'll give you whatever you need. The next senior luncheon is when, Mary? When is that? Is that June? Or is it July is at the pool?
July
June is somewhere.
Yeah.
I just gotta remember the day. Because it is June now.
I use the old fashioned kind here.
It's okay.
Don't laugh. Just don't laugh. Hmm.
Mary, it
Well,
wasn't Woodstock Inn, was it?
I,
No, I thought it was closer. I thought you were going back to
Denny's, I think.
Denny's is
weren't
what I
we?
thought.
I
Yeah, that's
almost
what I
think
thought
we were.
Randy was talking about last time.
It's usually on a
Oh.
Tuesday, which is a conflict for me.
No, I think it was.
There is an
Denny.
article, there's an article coming out in the Circle that will have the dates of upcoming events. Sorry about that.
That's
Thought
okay.
I had it.
Just so you also know that we went back to charging everyone for the pool. We had that 2-year hiatus where you guys were fantastic about letting town residents come in, but we have started that back up again at our rates that we've had forever.
Mhm.
So people are very happy. We had close to 60 people signing up with passes on the first 2 nights that we had it.
Wow.
So
Good.
that's a good sign. And our lessons are filling up. There's still plenty of room. They can just come by the pool. And please, seniors, just come to the pool. We let you swim. So don't worry about it.
Really?
Marty's wife, I thought was going to jump out of the truck the other day. She said, she pulled up, she's like, well, what's the cost for a pass? I said, well, you're a Rutland Town senior. You just come whenever you want. And I literally thought she was going to climb over Marty and give me a hug. Like, it's okay. We have swim time. Just come on down and swim and enjoy it. So that's everything else is good. So unless you guys have anything else for me, I'll stick around for the poll thing. That's all I got, unless people have questions for me.
Thanks, Mike.
Don, you all set? Can I go?
I'm fine. Thanks, Mike. Great report. Keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Our next department would be the Rutland Town Fire Department. Chris Clark, Fire Chief. I see he's not here. Is Larry going to give the report?
Don, this is Larry Dalbaneri. I'll be sitting in for him tonight.
Very good.
It's
Okay.
his we have to wish him a happy birthday. It's Chris's birthday, so that's why he has the evening off.
That is correct, Sharon. He thought he better be with his family tonight. So he took the night off. I'll be sitting in for him. And I'd like to start off by, we had our monthly business meeting last night. Don and Sharon were on the agenda for last night. Don couldn't make it because of his COVID. Sharon made the meeting. She had a lot of input last night. She actually knew a lot more than I thought she did. She did a great job. She also stayed after the business meeting. We had a bylaw meeting. That bylaw meeting came about because of the insurance company. Chris and I met with the insurance man about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And he made some suggestions that we should put into our bylaws. So last night we started working on that. And again, Sharon stayed for that. She had some good input on that. So we're still working on that. When we're done with the bylaws, the new additions, we will give it to Sharon. Sharon will bring it to the board, and the board will have to approve it or disapprove it.
I will have to say it was pretty interesting evening. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to the folks there. You've got a pretty darn good crew. In spite of the fact that Mr. Dalbaneri thought Sharon couldn't come there by herself, you know, but Larry, having known me since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, and I've always been knee-high to a grasshopper.
I was still taller than you were.
Okay.
Okay. The last couple of weeks, we've only had 3 calls. It's been very, very slow. So going on for that, the new truck, they finished with it at the factory. We're just waiting for it now to move from Minnesota to Massachusetts, where they will be mounting the equipment on it. I'm hoping that's going to be there by the end of this week. I'm not positive, but that's what we're hoping for. After it gets there, it should take about a week to install the new equipment and deliver it to Rutland Town. After that, we will have 2 weeks of training on that truck before we put it in service. Hang on, folks. Okay. With this new truck, we pushed up the capacity of our water supply on this end of town by another 500 gallons. So now on this end of town where there is no water, when we roll all 3 trucks on this end of town. We'll be bringing 4,200 gallons of water to the scene right then and there. Saying that, Station 2, if they respond their 2 trucks with us, we're going to have right around 6,600 gallons of water right there before we do anything. That's a lot of water. We can put out a lot of fire with that. So we're moving in the right direction. When we designed this truck, Chris and I sat down and we talked about what do we want this truck to do. We wanted it for our vehicle extrication for accidents and stuff, and we wanted it for another tanker. This thing's got 1,500 gallons of water on it. Engine 3's got 1,500 gallons of water on it, or 1, and our tanker has 1,200 gallons of water on it. So we're in good shape on this end of town now, being McKinley Avenue end. Let's see here. I got my notes. Okay, we are almost, not quite, completing the floor plan for the new fire station. I am working on the fire station side, and Chief Washburn is working on the police side. My side is almost completed. When that is completed, we will give the board a full report. That'll be just the floor plan itself. And that's all I have for you folks tonight. You have anything for me?
Any board members have questions for Deputy Chief Delvenary?
Just a quick one. Larry, we had a couple of suggestions, questions about the townwide celebration and what the fire department and the volunteers might be willing to do. Do you have any feedback for us? We still have time, but if you do.
You wanted a water polo?
Yeah,
Is that correct? Okay.
yes.
We brought that up again last night, and we're hoping we can get enough people to do it.
Okay.
Okay? So it's still in the works, Mary.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Larry, it was interesting that you brought up that the whole subject of the water on the trucks, because you know, I can remember way back, and it's way back in the first 40-hour course that I took, or the 40-hour course I took, that one of the things that came up many times was in fire suppression that most buildings are either saved or lost based on the amount of water that you can bring to a first response and a first attack. And we're in really good shape. Plus our ability to draft water doesn't hurt us either, but it's nice when you have that quantity of water.
We'll have that quantity of water, and we'll have, if we have anything at all, we're gonna have other towns moving to bring us more water.
Right.
We're in, I believe we're in damn good shape.
The only other thing I have to say, and I'd like to, I didn't mention it before, but I got to thinking about it after Chris's report 2 weeks ago, our fire chief. You know, the people of the town may wonder what it is that we look for in leadership in our departments, because we have great leadership in all of our departments. 2 weeks ago, when the group returned from Minnesota after having done their inspection, and there was an oversight, and there was like $6,000 worth of additional costs. I was necessarily a little bit upset, but you know, of course, I don't I don't know all the ins and outs of that stuff, but I mean, you miss $6,000 worth of stuff. Somebody screwed up somewhere. And I brought it up just casually. There's a difference between a leader and a non-leader. Chris, in his very mild-mannered way, didn't throw anybody under the bus. He wasn't on the original committee in any case, so he wasn't responsible for whatever error took place. But he assumed responsibility for it and simply said, well, we screwed up, we'll do better next time. And there's your definition of a leader. And his men ought to know that he has their back when he's willing to back them up that way. And that's leadership. And I'd just like to thank him for that. It's maybe a little extra birthday present for the family. In any case, it impressed me the way he handled that situation. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Chris is a good leader, and he knows the buck stops with him. And that was some big oversight. We're still going through everything to try to figure out how we missed that, but we did miss it. And we take responsibility for it, but we need that heater pump. I can show you the specs on that. The specs are 8 foot long. And going through all that stuff, we missed it. So,
There you go.
we apologize for it, but so,
No problem, Larry.
yeah. So, and again, I'd like to thank Sharon for last night. She did a great job. I was very surprised she knew what she knew about the fire department and personnel. I was very, very surprised, but I liked it. Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks, Dale.
Okay,
Anything else for me?
thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Our next report will be Kari, Clerk and Treasurer, I think. He's probably no report tonight. I don't see her on. You on, Kari? Are you taking a break from partying? No, I guess not. However, she will have a report for us next meeting and bring us up to date. Our next report would be from Barbara Pulling, our Planning Commission Director. Chairman, sorry. Good
Chair.
evening, Barb.
Chairwoman, whatever, yes. Good evening. Just a couple of things. Wondering if you had a chance to look at the survey we want to send out, the energy survey we want to send out to residents. We tabled that last time. So I see it in new business under A.
That's correct. We intend to make it an action item this evening.
Okay, so we'll wait until then to do that one. Is that your preference to wait?
Why don't we go ahead and do it now? Don, what do you think? As long as she's on there.
That's fine with me. That doesn't matter. If you would prefer, then you don't have to hang around, Barb. You can go back to partying or whatever.
So I would move the adoption and dissemination of the Rutland Town Energy Survey for homeowners. This is exhibit or item A in your packet. The intent that there was the Selectboard Energy Committee along with subcommittee of the Planning Commission reviewed it. This is not quite as it will appear on the screen because there will be little check boxes for some of the items that we're asking for input about, but the questions are what will appear. So This is a good step to gathering information about what town residents have done and what direction they would like the planning commission and other town officials to go in the future. Move we
Motion's
approve.
been made
Second.
and seconded.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to state one thing, that when we're doing an energy thing, that like the electric cars, I just want the public to be aware that they are expensive. Probably lower income folks will get money for them. People with that can really afford it. God bless them, they earned their money. But we, the middle class, are going to be picking up a lot of that expense. So I just want people aware of that. I support energy saving, but I also know that it is going to be expensive in some areas. So I want people to be aware of that when they look at the look at this thing. So that's all I had to say.
I had a question, Mary. Did you discuss when your committee was working on this, did you discuss an anticipated return rate or percentage that you were going to be looking for validation purposes?
We didn't come up with a number, Don, but the question we had was how long should we leave it up on the town's webpage and Facebook page so that people could respond. And I think I mentioned at last select board meeting that if we felt we still wanted to get some additional input, we may circulate some hard copies at the townwide celebration.
Okay.
We put any of those, like here in town hall, if somebody wanted to pick up
Sure.
a hard
Yeah.
copy, I think
Okay.
you should.
Sharon's suggesting we have some hard copies available at town hall, and I'm fine with that.
Well, yeah, we should. And then we should make as much available as possible because, the more responses we get, the more, I think the more validity we have.
Sure.
My-
As with
my-
any survey.
Mike Rowe's got his hand up.
So,
I mean, if you want to put some at the pool, you can do that too. have
Thank you.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Spots there if you want to do that.
thank you.
Sign, then we
That's a
can
good, yeah, that's good.
do that for you.
Appreciate that.
I didn't hear all of that Mike said.
I said I'd gladly put a section up at the pool. If you want to give me some information, just let me know. I can set a little table or what have you to put whatever you need up for residents to see that are coming in and out.
Okay. Yeah, great, thank you. Now, we missed the deadline for the circle for June. I'm wondering what you
No,
think.
Barbara, no, we got an article in.
But we don't have the survey done and no place to
Oh,
send
yeah.
people yet. We're hoping to do it mostly online, just for the convenience and for data collection. So I'm wondering what you think of doing most of the push this fall. We could do something at the townwide celebration. But instead of stringing this out too much, we go late summer, fall with getting it out there.
It's fine with me. And to Don's point, with the more people who respond, the more valid the survey.
Right.
and I really think it should be done under the planning commission's auspices. You would be the sending agency for the town.
Okay. Yeah, and that's how
So-
we've got it worded now.
Right, so I'm assuming you have enough money in your budget. We're not talking a huge amount of money for printing and assembly of the documents if we send them. If we did a paper survey as well.
Are you talking about postage?
Possibly. I don't know what you had intended.
I don't, well, what I think would work best is to get as many people to do it online as possible. And the Regional Planning Commission can help with that, with a service to use. And then, in the publicity for it, we direct people to where that is online. We can also use a QR code. We can have that at the townwide celebration or the town offices, and people can just, get that, put their phones up to that, and go right to the online. There's quite a few questions. I mean, there are, and there are quite a few parts to many of the questions. So it would be really advantageous, I think, if we could do a lot of it online. And those services, they will show you what the results are, and they'll show you, graphically too, if you want.
Now, do you have a way of tracking the origin of the responses?
No, I believe we decided we didn't think that was that important in this case.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I've always had a skeptical approach to anonymous surveys. I think people ought to take responsibility if they're going to feel that they have an impact, and they're going to feel that they have not only a financial, but a policy impact on the town of Rutland, that there ought to be some kind of proof that they actually exist in the town of Rutland.
So you would like to see people to put their names and addresses down?
Well, at least the address. I mean, their names. Possibly it's a survey. Yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, it would be a good demographic approach as well.
So Don, I would object to having people, I mean, we want to make this as easy as possible. And if people have to put their names on it in order to participate, I don't think that's a good idea. I wouldn't object to something in the header that says, please only answer if you're a Rutland Town resident, not a problem. But to have them put their names down, I mean, the surveys we've done, for example, at the Bar Association, we don't make people identify themselves.
Well, I would respectfully disagree with you, Mary, and for the reasons that I just gave. I mean, we're talking about our board potentially and futuristically making decisions on major purchases and expenditures in the town of Rutland, and I think we have a right to know that the people that are responding, if we're going to have positive responses on stuff, are residents of the town. Otherwise, anybody from the county could overload our petition. That's a possibility. And after what I saw going on last November, I get very, very skeptical about anonymous responses. I mean, the Herald won't print an anonymous letter to the paper, so why should we allow an anonymous response to a survey? I mean, same.
Well, the
reason.
only thing, Don, is a lot of people don't like to put their names online. That would be my only thing. People are uncomfortable putting their name online for many different reasons. So,
But this isn't an open online thing. This is maybe I misunderstand, Barbara. Would it be like Survey Monkey that you would be using?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We'd be using that, and you can't even go in that many times from your computer to fill out the survey.
Right. Screw it up.
It does limit that, and a lot of the questions are about, what they would like to see for information for presentations. There's not a lot of questions in there about spending money other than what they have done so far for energy conservation, etc.
Yeah, I understand. I read through most of them. I mean, I can't, if you tested me
So
on them,
I have a suggestion. How about a
Yes.
starting question, two preliminary questions? Are you a Rutland Town resident? Yes, no. Are you a Rutland Town business? Yes, no. And then we can sort according to responses at that point. And we can look at residences only. We can, if we want to ignore non-residences, we can look at town businesses, we can ignore others, okay? Would that be satisfactory?
seems like a reasonable compromise to me.
Okay,
What do you think, Sharon?
Okay. What do I do?
I think he wants a yes or a no.
What do you think?
Fine.
Sounds good to me.
I was trying to eat my M&Ms.
Joe, I've left you alone. You got to say something here pretty quick.
I'm doing a lot of good listening. There's a lot of good things. So,
Yeah.
so a couple of things that may help out with this, if to Barb's point of maybe doing this toward the end, why don't we set the kickoff of this being the townwide celebration, which is in August, and put a date, we want these surveys done by October 30th, gives people 2 months. So that way, to her point, it won't be stringing along, and it's a good idea. The other point of the two questions that Mary brought up, that'll help if people are honest, and that's a good way to go, that stuff. And the only other comment I want to make about electric vehicles and electric stuff that we keep pushing and we're talking about here and stuff like that is that everybody needs to understand electricity has to be generated somewhere. And there's a lot of speculation out there that the state and counties and country's electric grid is not ready to handle what's going on in this move. So people should just be aware of this. The electric vehicles are good. Having electric lawnmowers and tools are good, but you got to be aware that electricity is generated somewhere, and it's not all environment friendly generation. There's still fossil fuels. So the more demand that we put on to the grid, you're maybe moving the use of fossil fuels and the other things from one type of operation and overloading a second point. So it's just something that people need to be aware of. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Good points, Joe. I might add in terms of timing that if we have a genuine concern about legitimacy, one of the best ways to ensure that if we have paper copies available is to have them available at a desk at the primary elections. I mean, what better place? The only Rutland towners that are coming in to vote in our location. Well, I suppose we have multiple checklists now, but there should be some there, and it should be for Rutland Town residents. They could pick them up there. We're going to have a guarantee of a certain amount of people that are going to be there for the primaries. So, why not take advantage of that? If we can. I don't know if Barb, if you have that capability of getting those out, printed and so forth, ready for
Yeah,
August.
well, we didn't anticipate any expense for this, actually. Yeah, I think we could cover it. We were just hoping we would push it to online as much as possible for a number of reasons, for the cost and for the information we get out of it
Okay.
that way.
Well, have we exhausted discussion? I have, so. You ready for vote? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's 4-0. Very good. You got your mission, Barb.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
good luck with that. I hope you get it.
All right, and the only other thing I had tonight is the planning commission is close to working with the town to reaching out to the town attorney to take a look at our permit tracking ordinance. And we've had some experience using that ordinance lately, and the last meeting, the Z word was used a little bit, so I don't want to
That
get
was
out.
me, sorry.
No,
Well, I
we
don't
can
want to
keep-
get ahead of our, out in front of our skis too much here. If you want us to pursue this with updating the permit tracking ordinance, we'd like to add a questionnaire to give the town some more information about what kind of structures, how big they are, what people are planning on doing. Maybe look at the fine schedule. And I'm not sure when that ordinance was written. So I think the fines could go up a little bit if we wanted to do that. And there's some extraneous language in there we can clean up. So if that's the route you'd like us to go, we're prepared to go that route. Or if you want us to not go that way and look at some of the, Dawn, I think you mentioned some of the zoning proposals that were out there a few years back. If you want us to take a look at those, we'll be glad to do that.
Well, I think we certainly need to have a board discussion about that subject, and there's an interesting sequitur into that discussion in a neighborhood that we're all familiar with, and a problem that we're all familiar with. And those people have they've paid an attorney, and there's been some work done in that regard. And we need to discuss that as well, because there's a possibility of resolving some issues in that area that would apply to others as well. So, but you're right. I would say really the board was pretty firm originally in sticking to the ordinance review section. And well, anyone who the Z is near and dear to their heart knows what the cryptic nature of this is. So, I don't think we're there yet, but we certainly have that possibility, Barb, but I'm convinced that we need to do something. I'm absolutely convinced that we need to do something. And, that's why we put our confidence in you to try to tune up or create those ordinances that would take care of some of the most egregious problems, short of the Z word.
Okay, so
It doesn't seem to make much difference. And I hate to, I don't really mean to prolong the discussion on this, but it doesn't really seem to make a heck of a lot of difference what we do in this climate right now, because where we stand as a 1 acre town puts the burden on the state, and the state has abdicated their responsibility to use their own rules to enforce things in the town of Rutland. So, I mean, why do we even consider that we're going to do ordinances and or zoning or any other regulatory thing in our town when the state is not enforcing their own regulations in the town? It's very frustrating for me in this climate to be able to have confidence. And I don't understand why. I mean, I really just don't understand why. The rules are there, they're clear, they're written. People know them, they're violating them, and nothing is done. So, well, that's the experience that we've had more often than not. Okay. And it's going to continue to happen more and more for that reason. I mean, as soon as people know that there's no enforcement on this or that or the other thing, I mean, what's to stop them from developing whatever they want?
So what I'm hearing is that the planning commission might as well go ahead and clean up the permit tracking ordinance and perhaps add a questionnaire, some questions to the informational building form and run those by the town attorney and bring those back to you.
That sounds like a reasonable suggestion to me. What do you feel? What's board members have any comments?
I agree.
No, that's a good idea, Barb,
Okay, that's what we'll do.
and thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Barb.
Barbara. Have a nice evening.
Okay. Thank you.
I believe we have Deputy Chief Ted Washburn filling in for Ed's on vacation this week.
Good evening.
Evening,
Hey
Ted.
there.
I gave everybody a copy of the report, and Don, I emailed you a copy of our report. The reporting period for the last 2 weeks was May 20th through June 2nd. The town PD had 67 calls for service, 22 traffic stops, and of the 67 total calls, 17 were arrestable offenses. And after sifting through the paperwork, the Vermont State Police had 30 calls in the town, giving us just shy of 100 calls in a 2-week period.
How many south of the city?
And break it down that much,
Okay.
but you can look at the one of the pages where it has the breakdown for location by activity. And 11, 7 South, 6 Holiday Drive. And then the Granbury Road, Windcrest Road, all that different stuff is all listed there. But again, it seems like the vast majority of our time is spent on the south end versus elsewhere in town.
I have a question, Don.
Go ahead, Mary.
The holiday, putting aside the Holiday Inn, also on the south end of the town is the old mall. Has that calmed down pretty much? The security system that they put in, is that working okay?
So it's not so much a system as it is a company.
Yeah.
And from my understanding is the state police at night are still having calls to respond to the parking lot by the security. So of those 30 calls, it's hard for me to sift through their paperwork because they report differently than we do. But from what I can see, they're going down there. It's just a matter of breaking down more how
But
often.
we're not getting the calls
No.
as the town. Okay, that was our goal, so
Yep.
that worked.
Yeah, no, we're to the mall itself. No, we haven't responded.
Good, thank you.
Ted, what, do you have an update on, because I didn't get a sheet. I don't think we got a sheet on the Cortina. Do you have an update on rooms occupied now and people, adults and children?
So I don't have an updated list as from the last time. So I'm
Is that
not sure.
because
if
the
it
state,
was-
is that because the state didn't give you one, or?
It could very well be that the state sent it out, but Chief Dumas being on vacation just might not have put it through. Which is
Okay,
understandable. We'll have an update in 2 weeks from the next time when Chief Dumas returns.
if you should get one before then, it would be helpful because we have that meeting on the 15th next week, and it would be,
Okay. I can ask.
it'd be helpful to have that information for the meeting.
Yep.
I understand it's gone down, but I mean, maybe you've heard anecdotally that they're not issuing any more vouchers. I think
I haven't heard it from a source at DCF, but I had heard that they were no longer issuing vouchers for the Cortina. So, but the other side of that coin that I've heard is that the owner of the Cortina is shuttling in from his other hotels to keep his numbers at the Cortina up, so that way he can put people in his other hotels around the state. Again, that is just scuttlebutt. None of that has been confirmed, but that is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, let's see if we can confirm.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of rumors and some of which absolutely have not been correct. A
No,
few
they have not.
been, but
And Rutland loves its rumors, so.
yes.
I don't know if it's gonna fall under it, but I can request an executive session to discuss an investigative tactic that we currently utilize, that we want to ask the board if it's an idea for us to continue. Ask for the meeting because investigative tactics by police are confidential. We don't release those things to the public. So I ask that we have an executive session at the end of the meeting. But that's up to the board.
You don't mind waiting till the end of the meeting, Ted?
I don't.
Do you have an idea of how long your
10 to
request?
15 minutes.
No, how long is it going to take for you to describe and what's going on?
About 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. All right, we'll take that up at the end then. I was going to say we could take it up now if it was going to be very brief, but I guess we'd be better to wait. We have an executive session scheduled if necessary under G, so that's where we'll take it up without board objection. Okay, thanks, Ted.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Teddy.
Our town health officer, public safety building clerk, and constable, John Paul Faignant. You're up, JP.
Hi, good evening.
Evening to you.
I'll start with the health officer report. Today, the Department of Health and the supervisors conducted an unannounced visit at the Comfort Inn to document that the areas previously noted as needing improvement had not been complied with. And
Are you
so,
talking Cortina Inn, JP?
yes, did I say Comfort Inn? Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay.
Cortina. Thank you for that. So we look forward to their report and I will forward it on to the board as soon as I receive it. On the public safety building, we're moving along. Our architecture has the same illness you have, Don, so he's kind of out of the picture for a week, but we are close to being able to retain a geotechnical firm and to set a schedule for doing the test borings on the site. And I'm told that the geotechnical people will be bringing a drill rig. So it's a rig specifically designated to doing core samples. So hopefully I'll be able to report what we have or have not found at our, probably not the next meeting, but the meeting after that. As to the Perkin Road incident, I've been giving that a lot of thought, and especially it's interesting that the Z word did come up tonight because the town has never really taken our nuisance statute and run it through to a completed case. The issue with proceeding as the health officer on Perkins Road is that it's difficult to define a public health hazard rather than a private nuisance. And the distinction is important because if we proceed against Perkins Road, and that would be under my constable hat, I would do a new investigation. I would report to the board and ask you to issue an order that the property be cleaned up within a certain period of time, or else the town will clean it up and lien the property. That would require the town to perfect that lien by bringing a lawsuit. But the point is, we have security for the work we do, and that's the property. I don't know how much this property is worth, probably not a lot. But the important thing, according to the town council, is that if the board issues that order and the person wants to appeal, the appeal is on the record of the hearing you conduct. In other words, they can't go to court and argue new grounds or bring in new evidence. It only goes in front of a judge based on what the select board does. So that seems to, and there is a lot of need in town to see whether or not we can enforce that nuisance statute. And this would be a great test case to do it. So we're going to be switching hats from the health officer on Perkins Road to the second constable and be pursuing an investigation that I will report to you on in writing for your next meeting. And I will list in that document the action that I'm requesting you to take. You'll then be required to give the property owner notice and a hearing, an opportunity to be heard, at which time I'll present the evidence that I've collected and the property owner can respond as they deem appropriate. Following that, you would take the matter under advisement, eventually issue a decision, and we'd be able to clean that property up if the owner does not.
Sounds like a plan.
That's all I have for tonight.
The slow wheels of progress, turning ever so slowly, but nonetheless turning.
Right. Well, if this thing works like it should, we'll have a blueprint in case other property owners have similar type issues with their neighbors. So it would really benefit the whole town to get this thing on paper, have something, have the process so that if it does come up again, and we know it will, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yep, I agree. Does that complete the full report, JP?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any board members have any questions of John Paul?
Just, you don't need any action from us tonight.
I'm
do you,
having an
JP?
awful problem with the volume. All of a sudden, it just goes to zero. What's going on, Bill?
Probably because it's me.
Nothing's changed. I don't know.
I can't hear a thing now. I mean, how do you go with a whole meeting from 6 o'clock to 7:17 and the volume is fine and all of a sudden it just starts to fade all the way down to zero?
I don't know. Nothing changed in the room.
Can you turn it up a little bit, Bill, and see if it helps, if it's on your end or mine?
I
don't know.
can't adjust mic levels. No, they're already set.
Not hearing a thing.
Would you like me to speak so you can test my volume level?
Oh, I can hear you. I heard you fine right there, but when JP finished
Okay.
his report and signed off, I couldn't even hear him.
I didn't sign off.
Oh, well, there you go. Now I can hear. Maybe it's corrected itself. Well, let's continue.
I'm sorry. I thought Mary had a question.
I did.
Go ahead,
The
Mary.
question was, JP, do you need any action from us tonight to proceed with the nuisance investigation, or are you all set? You've got the authority to do it anyway as second constable.
Thank you for that, Mary. Yeah, no, I'm all set. I just wanted to give you a weather report of what I will be asking of you in the future. That's all.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks.
If that's it, thank you, JP.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Our next report will be from our town administrator, Bill Sweet.
Evening.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. Only the most things left in the packet are for new business items. The meeting room request, I had reached out to Teresa to ask her if they had found someone or needed someone to monitor the room. She was hoping to get someone, but she has not yet. So we can hold off on that till next meeting because she's got to find someone she's hoping to get Andy to do it, but she hasn't been able to reach him yet. So
Okay.
that one we can hold off on. So letter D, we can hold off until next meeting. Just a couple other updates. The Post Road water line extension project is well underway. We have most of the connections are already done, and they are getting closer and closer to actually wrapping up. So they've been working on a few different houses already, and they have run into far less ledge than anticipated.
Good.
So Robert Clark and I actually talked today, and we expect to come in less than anticipated. So that's always nice. We actually had two people reach out after we already started to say, we're right next to it. Can we get it too? We were able to add those with minimal effort. So we've got 4 total connections going on, which Robert Clark and I said, we agreed, like that's the most we can do is 4. So they're all being done, and it's doing well. We also talked about Townland Road schedule. We have not heard from Fabian's yet. So he was going to try and get a hold of them for a schedule to find out when we're starting that, but that still is waiting for a schedule. The parking lot was sealed on Memorial Day, and tomorrow they're planning to come paint the lines. So that should be wrapped up hopefully tomorrow. Came out pretty well. We do have Christina Haskins from Dufresne Group. She is on the call. So you have on your desks the final draft of the JP sidewalk study. So that is there. And so she does have a presentation to share that she'll get to when we have her come up. And as a reminder, so this is the report that we need to do along with the grant. And if we decide to go forward, we have until the deadline is submitting it by 1 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll talk about that. The last thing I have, Joe, your favorite topic, sewer discharge allocations. We have 2 businesses that I have been chasing for 3 months to file an amendment to their allocation. I have sent 2 letters to their corporate offices, 2 letters to their stores, and the store managers tell me they've done everything they can do. And at this point, they're not responsive. So I'm not sure how we'd like to go. We've never issued any violations under the ordinance. But
It's time.
I've called and I've left messages with store managers who says they've talked to district managers who've not gotten back to me. So at this point, the last letter went out.
The GP's going to go as a select board, not a select board, a constable.
Ed. Hi, Ed.
Oh, Ed's on. Hi.
Hi, Ed. So
Sorry about that.
the last letter went out the end of March. And I talked to the stores again today, and they said they've done everything they can do. So the ordinance allows us to charge $500 a week for this. One business is over, not a lot. The other one is over pretty substantially. It's more than double what they're allowed to right now. So it's a pretty substantial increase. So I'm not sure where you'd like to go.
Something if they're not
So
gonna-
how about we send it to, I move we send it to our town attorney to start enforcement proceedings.
I'm with you, Mary.
Second.
What, do we have to do that through the town attorney if do we have an ordinance that says this? Bill, what's the regulation?
The ordinance, it's the allocation of sewer capacity ordinance, and it gives in the ordinance, it gives us authority to issue a fine for each week they don't comply.
So Mary, just let me clarify. Is there a particular reason why we need to spend attorney money if it's already in the ordinance? Can't we just send them a fine?
Well,
During-
if they haven't responded to 2 letters from us, sometimes the lawyer letter
We'll do the
gets their
trial.
attention. It might be worth doing that.
Okay.
Don, I think it's worth it. I mean, because these people have just ignored.
Right. Okay, I buy that. Do you have a motion? I believe you made a motion, didn't you, Mary?
I did.
Second,
Second, motion made and second. And any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
uh,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, there's none opposed. So let's get that started, Bill.
Okay, Don, did you
Bill,
want me to reach out?
you can contact Kevin and have him start that process.
Okay, no problem. Okay, that's everything I have.
Any questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill.
No problem.
Okay, committee meeting updates. I had the Recreation Committee Chair Sharon on here, but that's already been taken care of. Sharon, you didn't have any other pertinent information about the park or the 250 permit or any of that other stuff?
Nope, nope.
Okay. The okay, Personnel Committee. Sharon, if you want to talk on that, you can, or I can, I don't care.
Why don't you go ahead?
I mean, you have in front of you the completed work of the Personnel Committee. We spent considerable amount of
Yeah,
time.
Mary, I did talk, John, I did talk with Mary a little bit just before the meeting. And there were a couple things that made sense. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna defer to her. There were just a couple little
Well, we're gonna
things,
go
so-
over the whole thing, so everybody gets to give their input, what they have, so, that would be appropriate. And, if anybody has any suggestions, I'd like to take some action tonight, so if we can agree on any changes that are made, that would be fine. You know what it is. 3 votes makes a policy. But I would assume we would have unanimous consent on most of this stuff anyway. But yeah, you have it in front of you. I wanted to make sure that it got out to you so that you'd have a chance to review it. And we kind of did it the way the legislature does it, with underlining of additional information and substitution. So if we're, I suppose, under the Personnel Committee, we can have any discussion we want without having a motion. So we don't really need a motion now. But Mary, if you had suggestions, I'd like to hear them now.
Okay, well, for starters, I checked the League of Cities and Towns website because the original template for this personnel policy came from them. And there are 2 items on there that we probably should include. The first is a provision this is a state statute requiring all employers to provide unpaid leave to crime victims who are going through various processes, like need to go to court to get a relief from abuse order, need to go through a criminal proceeding, that sort of thing. The language is on the League of Cities and Towns. And so I don't think we can vote on something tonight unless we have that addition. That's one addition. There's also drug and alcohol use provision. Our ordinance might be okay the way it is, but remembering now that marijuana has been legalized, we may want to take a look at the suggested provision that the League of Cities and Towns has. So 2 things that we should probably include. Do you want me to keep going? Because I have more.
No, go ahead. Exhaust. That's what we're here for, is to discuss this.
Okay. A very big, let me just go to the very big issue that I found, which is the sick leave provision. And I'm trying to find the page. Page 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is page 7, item 22, sick leave. It says employees may receive 10 paid sick leaves per year. That's a change from employees will receive. And I would strongly object to having may in there instead of guaranteeing our employees that they will have 10 sick days a year. I do that for a number of reasons. The first is we want to encourage people, employees, if they're not feeling well, to stay home, as you did tonight, Don, so that others would not be infected if their illness happens to be contagious. Secondly, this is a highly competitive employment market right now. And employees are carefully looking at all options. And if they find the town of Rutland is saying, maybe they'll get 6 days, maybe they won't, then it could be more difficult for us to hire qualified employees. So that's another reason. And thirdly, if you go to May, there's a big question about who makes that decision. And I think there's no provision for how you determine whether an employee may have sick days. Is it the supervisor? Is it the select board? So for all three reasons, I would say we stick with the original. Employees will receive 10 paid sick days per year.
Okay, information well received. Now, let me give you the reasoning, because that was under my suggestion. I'll give you my reasoning why I wanted to change it from will to may. As you know, in legal terms, will has the same basic meaning as shall. In other words, they will receive them. Well, they won't receive them unless they've requested them. So will receive them means that we're actually encouraging people to take 10 paid sick days per year, because they're guaranteed that. My suggestion to put they may receive 10 if they need 10, but if they only need 4, we don't encourage them to take the other 6 just because they will receive them. Now, I don't know if my logic is flawed, but that's the way I looked at it.
Well, I understand your reasoning. It's one of those where I suggest we look to the League of Cities and Towns in the original template, because they may have encountered this before, and it's possible that there's some language that could satisfy the issue that I'm raising.
Okay, my concern is this. I think we should go through at the beginning and do these and take care of them tonight so that we can adopt this. I happen to think, Don, may can be construed as anything. It's not like we have 200 people in the town working. And will people abuse sick leave? That's done all over the place, but I really truly believe that I trust our employees that if they take sick leave, they're sick. So I agree that would be my take, that they will, and that would be and that's what I would put to a vote, is that they will. And
let's do this, if you don't mind, let's do this by polling so that we don't have to have a vote, because this is only a suggested document anyway. We've worked on it. We're presenting it as the Personnel Committee's recommendation. Right. And if we have suggestions, I'll just poll the board, and if suggestions are incorporated, we'll just incorporate them, and then we'll vote on the final document. If that's okay with everybody, I think it's a simpler way to do it. How do people feel about will and may? You want to change it back to will? Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably leave it at will, if that's
okay.
If that's the way the league.
Mary, I know what you feel. Joe, what do you think?
I'd leave it at will.
Okay, Sharon, I know what you think, and I'll go along with that. So we'll change it back to will. Okay. Let's proceed.
So what do we do with the?
I was trying to figure out, Mary, where, because that's the tough part of this, and I thank Bill, because Bill had a lot of input to this in terms of the boilerplate stuff, especially, and also numbering the items so that we can refer to them more easily. But those suggestions that you had, Mary, about the jury, we had, that's in here someplace, and I'm just trying to find it where. when we
No,
get-
jury duty, Don, you're correct. Jury duty is in here, but this is different. This is this is an unpaid leave that victims of crime can take advantage of if they need to go to court to get a relief from abuse order, get a no stalking order, get an order of protection for a vulnerable adult, and so on. It's different from jury duty. It's a protection that the legislature created, I think it was last year, for crime victims. And since we're doing we're also supposed to be posting these so that all employees of the town can see it. So that's why I want to incorporate it into the personnel policy.
So I make a suggestion that we incorporate it into the personnel policy.
So that would, okay, Sharon's made the suggestion. So are we under 26 then, Mary? On page 8, leave of absence without pay, and then we would add these provisions into that?
I think that would be roughly the right place to put it. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm just gonna put down here, incorporate VLCT language on, what would we call it, Mary? Incorporate VLCT language on,
It's unpaid leave to crime victims.
language on crime victims.
It's unpaid leave to crime victims, Don.
Right, that's what, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
No,
if you
but it's
heard-
under section 26, Sharon, which is leave of absence without pay. So
Right,
that's
right.
that's
No, I
already
know that.
defined in the titles, but that's fine. And I agree with that. We need to do, as much as we can for crime victims. There's not enough emphasis being put on it. And what was the other, Mary? There was another one that was it?
Well, I guess I'm asking the personnel committee if they considered any advice concerning drug and alcohol use since the change of the marijuana legalization.
Where would we put something like that?
Well, I don't know, and I guess that's my question back to you. And it's not a thing you can lift up and put in the personnel policy. It's something you should be considering as you're looking at it.
We would be looking at that under discipline policy. Because even though marijuana is legal, so is alcohol, but we don't allow the consumption of
Right.
alcohol on the premise for employees, so.
So you just add to that marijuana.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, is that specifically in there under discipline, but let's check and see. Help us out, Bill, if you can. You can go through these quicker than anybody, probably.
I'm trying to remember. The other thing we can do, actually, I found out the other day, I'm almost sure we can send this to VLCT has like an employee resource people, and we can send them our policy. They can review it for us and give us suggestions on it as well. So if we're missing things like that, they can help us add that. That's probably good.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
I like that.
I do too.
We pay for that service with our dues to the league, so.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we might,
I don't want them drafting our personnel policy. I'd rather we do it. And I think we're on the right track here. I don't want to make, it's kind of like that zoning document, that we first started working on, and it ended up was 168 pages, and we kept dwindling it.
Don, first of all, this is their template that we're working from. Okay,
Yeah, right.
and that
That's
was,
why,
yeah.
that's why I'm
Right.
saying we've taken their template and we've just
Right.
modified it to fit our own conditions. So I don't
and they're
have,
willing to review the modifications to keep us out of trouble. And they've got a vested interest because they don't want to get us sue us to be sued because they'd have to step in and defend.
Right.
What's that, Bill?
We,
TLC has language for those sections on their site, so I can just take that out and plug it right in.
Okay. Would you tell Don that, please, Bill?
Don, I have the two sections Mary was just talking about, that we're talking about adding. They have the language in their employee policy section that I can just pull out and plug into ours and just add it real easy.
you're talking about under that 26?
Yeah,
Leave- under the leave of absence?
Yeah.
How about, okay, and so that's fine, you can do that. And,
and then I also have the section on the alcohol and drug use with the marijuana update.
okay, let's figure out where that's gonna go, though. Where's the discipline policy in here tonight?
Don, if you look on page 12.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of bullet points under just above hostile work environment, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The eighth one down talks about unlawful distributing, selling, possessing, using, or being under the influence of alcohol, drugs when on the job or subject to duty. So somewhere in that section.
Well, I would say that includes marijuana.
Please.
Yep.
Wouldn't you, Mary? I mean, it's drugs. I don't know why we
think
have
we-
to be specific. We wouldn't
Yeah, but the
have to
state
be.
is not recognizing marijuana as a drug now, so.
Might want to just toss marijuana in there as a
But
word
I
since
just, it's a safety thing. Yeah, I agree,
the
Kurt.
things, yes.
Well,
Since
I
it is
don't-
legal state.
I'll tell you why I don't agree with that, because if you toss that in there as a specific, then what you've done is you've ruled out other specifics, because then you would have to specify every other drug. And it is a drug. It's still defined federally as a class 1 drug.
But not in Vermont.
And the federal government has control of it still. So, that's why the banks won't issue any money or, any financing for any of these marijuana operations. They can't legally do it. So, but anyway, it is a drug. There's no question about it. Alcohol or drugs?
Alcohol is a drug. I want to be technical.
What do you think? It's up to the board.
I think that covers it. I mean, it's not specific to any drug, but we are addressing the fact that, and that's to Don's point, alcohol has been legal for a long time, but we address it. And now that marijuana is legal and we are addressing it without being specific, because you would almost have to, if you want to be listing alcohol, you would have to list every variety the same as you would with every drug. So this is enough that I think we've covered it, and I don't think we need any other language.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
On that same provision, Joe, that you just pointed out.
Yep.
If somebody has taken a heavy duty cold medication,
That
they could very well be under the influence of a drug.
Yes.
And we don't.
And
say
that, I believe that has come up in work-related situations, especially those medications that say right on them, do not operate heavy equipment or drive in whatever. And what we're doing here is we are putting some personal responsibility on the employees to not come to work if they're taking medication that's going to affect their ability to perform their functions, which goes back to what you said, Mary, about people not coming to work if they're sick. So
Right.
there are some over-the-counter and prescription medications for colds and stuff that will knock you for a loop, and you don't want to be running a snowplow. And with any of this, you are putting a certain amount of personal responsibility on the employee to do the right thing. And the policy is written so that if they don't do the right thing, the department head or whomever can take action to either send them home or some disciplinary action because they violated this is pretty clear. That's why you don't want to be specific about drugs or alcohol, because there's so many out there that can negatively affect a person's ability to do their job. So I think this is that's I think how it has to work. You hire good people and you hope they exercise good judgment in the execution of their duties to the town. And these personnel things only come into effect when there's a conflict or when there's a problem. And I think we've addressed it adequately.
I think that's very well stated, Joe, and I agree with you. And
It also,
I
it
think we've
appears-
covered it.
yeah, VLCT looks like they have some updated language about it,
Mhm.
but you have to request it specifically. It's not posted, so I can get that and send it out to you all.
Okay. Thank you.
And like with any other thing that we're doing, if we find that there's better language, it says right at the beginning that we can amend these at any time. And, whether we adopt them tonight, I'm not in a big yank to adopt these, because I don't think in 2 weeks the world's going to come to an end if we don't have this new language down. So if we need to get some more information, that's fine too. I don't think there's any dire emergency here, but and I'd like to get it right the first time, or as right as we can.
No problem with that.
Yep.
But we've been dragging our feet on this for quite a while, so, I don't mind taking the time, Joe, if it's necessary, but I don't want to drag our feet. I mean.
No, me
the
neither.
list
You know
is-
how I feel about that.
This list right here, as it says in the heading to this thing, this list is not exhaustive. So obviously it can be added to or whatever. Okay, so have we exhausted the discussion on drugs?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Would you like me to continue? I'm sure the
Yes,
answer is no, but let me continue anyway.
I knew you were going to do that, Mary.
Well,
That's your function on this board, is to make.
I have several functions, Don, but this is one that I know something about. Performance evaluations, page 3. I have no objection to requiring evaluations. I think, though, that either the select board as a whole should be ultimately responsible and not individual, department, whatever it was, or the select board chair, or that there should be a provision in here that allows any employee who disagrees with his or her evaluation can appeal to the full select board for a review.
Gary, I disagree. I would expect the chief of police would evaluate his own people.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's our job, nor Mike Rowe with his people, nor the fire chief with their people. And then if there's an issue, then it would come to us.
Okay, but that part is missing.
The part
where if an employee was not, because we've changed this to mandatory evaluations.
Okay.
So if an employee is not satisfied with the review, there should be a way that they can appeal to the full board.
Right.
Okay, I agree with your second half, Mary, but I don't agree with your first half. I don't agree with your first half because it's too cumbersome to have every single board member evaluating every single employee of the town when we
Oh,
have.
no. I'm sorry, Don. I didn't mean that. No. It was just a couple of things in here. Department heads evaluated by the select board committee chair. Okay, and the administrative assistant evaluated by the select board chair. And then if you add any appeals from an evaluation will come to the full select board, I'd be satisfied.
Okay, I'd be satisfied with that as well. And then there should be.
And I would want it to come before the select board with the department head involved. I don't think that they should just be able to come to us. I think if it was a police officer, that would be brought before us in an executive session, and then discussed in executive session between the fire chief, the police chief, or whatever
Yeah.
department head, what the issue is.
I guess I'm confused, Mary, because did you mean employees that are evaluated by their own department heads have a right to appeal to the full board?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's sort of like what we do for employee discipline on page 11. There's a route there, you know, it doesn't just stop. I mean, if it's a good evaluation, nobody's going to appeal. But if it's something and the employee is, you know, facing not discipline, but maybe not an advancement or something, there should be a way that they can come to the full select board.
What do the members think about that? You agree with that?
I would agree with that. I mean, that at least gives the employee some other route. Say, hope it never happens, but say the department had some sort of bias towards the employee,
Right.
they would at least have a way to come to the
Right.
select
And
board.
we would hear it out. Now, we may agree with the department head.
Oh, might, yeah.
We may
Well,
not agree.
but
Because
at least they
at
they
least
can
they
come
have
and
that
talk to
route.
us,
I
yeah.
agree, Kurt. Yeah, Kurt.
Aren't all disciplinary actions or whatever, the employee or the persons involved have the right to appeal to the board. That is why the board doesn't get involved with individual discipline in departments, because we are the ultimate judicial body that's going to listen to their complaints, or if they feel they didn't get a good evaluation or they have been mistreated or in some way, they appeal to us. So, I mean, that language is written right into the fire department bylaws, that if a member is dismissed or suspended or that they can appeal that to the board. And that's one of the functions the board would do. So I think that's, if we have to put it in writing, then it should be there.
I agree, Joe, and it's perfectly
And let me
clear
ask
that
Mary-
if you did get involved in that at the outset, you would have to recuse yourself when it came to an appeal, because you
Right.
couldn't do it without bias.
Right. We can't be involved in disciplinary stuff within a department or the firing of an employee or whatever, because we are the board. We are the people they're going to come to appeal to. And then we're supposed to, you know, hear it and weigh out the evidence and make a decision. I mean, most department heads keep the board apprised of what's going on. Like if there is some pending problems or whatever within an individual department, we'll be made aware of it, but we don't get the details, because that would change or could change how we perform in our appeal capacity.
Right.
Right.
So where does that provision come at the beginning, or is it in 3 or is it in 11? Evaluation from would that be in 13, Mary? That
I think
employees,
so. I would put it at
Yeah.
the very end. Yeah.
employees shall have the right of appeal to the select board.
Yeah.
Any evaluation. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna write that in here. Employees shall have a right of appeal should there be any other language in there after appeal, right of appeal, or just leave it right of appeal to the select board? Right of appeal of any negative decision, or just leave it clean?
I would
That's
leave
good.
it. Yeah.
Just leave it clean. Right of appeal
Yeah.
to the select board. To the full select board. Okay. That's 13. Onward we proceed.
Okay. The password management additions, I think those are good. I'm not sure, in number 18, this would be page 5. This is just a question. Employees shall participate in all appropriate internet security training made available to them. Is that made available by the town?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we say that? Because I get offers from all over the place and I'd rather have it, you know.
I just added so available to them by the town. That's easy.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. I like the change for part-time attorneys who work at least 30 hours a week. I think that's a good change.
Part-time what?
We changed
What's
it
that
from
security training?
Part-time employees.
part-time employees. Yeah. What did you say? What did I say?
Attorneys. Think of yourself.
Yeah, I was a little confused.
All right. I'm getting tired too.
What's the
Snickers in
security-
the crowd here.
security training? What was that additional language? By the town? Made
Made
available
available to them by the town.
by the
Yeah.
town? Okay.
Okay. Holidays, we have 2 holidays here that aren't mentioned, so I thought I would. The first is brand new. It's called Juneteenth. It is a federal holiday. And the other not mentioned is Battle of Bennington Day, which is observed as a state holiday.
Well, we added birthday and
I saw that.
and I think we've got enough paid leave on our schedule right now. We add 2 more. I'm all in
Well,
favor.
I would
I'm all-
take out birthday and I would add the federal holiday Juneteenth and I would add Bennington Battle Day.
Well, I don't agree with Juneteenth and I'm not going to vote in favor of that ever.
Don,
Well,
Don,
Yes, I'm here.
this is Byron Hathaway.
Bye.
Just to respond to Mary, traditionally, we have taken the day after Thanksgiving off as Bennington Battle Day. And then when we lost Lincoln's birthday was moved back for employees as the day before or the day after Christmas.
Right.
But none of that was ever written down, but that's what
That's a long
took place many years ago. So we have always had Bennington Battle Day off, but we took it as the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I think they appreciate that better.
yeah, okay, so I'm thinking that maybe to memorialize that, and where we say day after Thanksgiving and put in lieu of Bennington Battle Day.
Right there.
Well, why don't we just put / Bennington Battle Day and cover 2 birds with 1 stone?
There you go.
Is it
Whatever.
their choice then? They can do either?
No, I mean,
No.
call it. We're going to give them that day, but we call it day after Thanksgiving / Bennington Battle Day.
But that isn't Bennington Battle Day.
That's what it is.
No. No, it's
So
August.
we're gonna screw people all up.
In lieu might be a,
In lieu, yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
might be a good way of
exactly
putting it.
correct. Don, I think in lieu.
Yeah,
That'll- that-
in lieu would be good.
Okay.
And I still think we should add Juneteenth.
Yeah, I think.
I get it off with my employer.
Could we do birthday or Juneteenth? The employee can pick.
I'm
I just
still-
want to keep them up. Paid
I'm
days,
still
and then
writing
we
down
got 2
Bennington
weeks.
Battle Day information, so what? I mean, you can get carried away with these days off, believe me. You
There's
know,
14.
I mean,
There's 2
we have
weeks.
14,
That's 2 weeks. That's almost 3 weeks of paid holidays. One thing that I might change in just to and it's not a big deal, but it says Washington's birthday, which is the third Monday in February, but I do think that is referred to now as President's Day
I think
because
you're right, Jim.
we celebrate Lincoln and Washington on the same day.
Right.
But
Yep.
if you look at the way this stands, there's 14 days. That's equivalent of 3 work weeks. So I think that's pretty good. And I'm good with it the way it is.
What about Kurt's suggestion?
That's
Employees' birthday or Juneteenth?
That would be fine. That doesn't change the total number. We can
what do you
do
mean?
that.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Instead of what?
So,
you
what Kurt? Go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah,
Tell them what you're thinking.
well, the employee could either pick to take their birthday off or Juneteenth. If they wanted to celebrate Juneteenth, then they could sacrifice their birthday.
Well, I suppose we could do that because the discussion came up in the personnel committee when we were coming up with this. The discussion came up that employees' birthday is handled quite
That's a good
differently.
thing. Let's do that.
In different towns, it's handled, and different employers handle it differently. And some of them allow employees' birthday to be taken as a floating holiday. And you know, my point was, no, you're not a floating holiday. You're just giving them another day. So that's why we put in there, if your birthday comes on a Saturday, you can take the Friday before. If it comes on a Sunday, you can take the Monday after, and leave it called employee's birthday. But I don't have an objection to somebody taking Juneteenth instead of their birthday if they want. We're not adding another day. That was my biggest concern, was adding another day.
Okay.
So what do you think? What's the board think about the Kurt's suggestion for an either or?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I like it.
Okay. Joe, you're good with that?
I don't know if he heard you.
Joe, are
We
you
were
good with-
nodding instead of saying anything, but I guess we're pretty small on your screen, so, okay.
Joe, you're okay with that? Joe doesn't have a screen. He's got this little cell phone. I didn't hear you, Joe. But that's all right.
I'm good. I got to unmute my phone.
Okay.
It works. I find that it works better if the microphone is not green.
Okay. So you're okay. You're okay with Kurt's suggestion?
Yes. Yeah, I am.
Employee's birthday or
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. Okay.
We've got 3 more, but they're short.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
All right. The first is a question actually on page 7, and it is about carryover of sick days. And what is the actual number now of sick day carryover? Do we know?
According to Bill, and this went back to some time way previously, it somehow got increased to 30 days that was able to be accumulated. And I personally think that was an error, but that's neither here nor there. My view and the personnel committee's view was that if we were going to allow transfer of sick days within a department, which is a pretty progressive thing to do, that we would keep the accumulated sick day ability at 20, not 30. And again, this is for the same reason that Joe was talking about, is that when you start expanding these things, we like to give benefits and we like to be as generous as we can, but 30 days for every employee in the town, especially with an ability to transfer, because we didn't put any limit on the transferability. So if somebody's hurting in a department and the department head or another member of the department wants to feel compassionate and give them their sick days, then that's fine. But
do we know if we have any current employees who have accumulated a lot of sick days under the old policy, expecting that they can continue carrying them?
Mary, Walt's trying to.
Walt's got something to say, Don.
Yeah, go ahead, Walt.
It's been, we could have carried 20 sick days. July 1st, you get 10 more. You can have no more than 30 in 1 year. So I lose 10 sick days every single year. I've had my 20 in the bank for 20 years or whatever. But this goes back to when JP, I mean, I've got the written thing up at work where it was done at a board meeting.
So you've carried over 30
I
days?
lose 10 every year because I can't have any more than 30
Okay.
in 1 year,
Okay, and you don't take sick days.
not unless I'm sick.
So you would be one, if we adopted this policy, you'd be down to 20 days carryover. Unless we grandfathered existing, employees or employees with existing.
I don't know. I think this kind of gets doesn't this kind of get involved in semantics of how we're interpreting when you accrue and how many you get and then how many are carried over. There seems to be a confusion as to you get 10 a year. If you don't use those 10, they carry over to the next year. You then get another 10.
20, right?
Right.
You lose them.
Okay, but start again. Walt was.
If you have 20 days in your sick bank, you get 10 new July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
You have those 30.
Yeah.
But if you don't use that, come the next year, you lose those 10. You can have no more than 30 in any 1 year. You're carrying 20 every year if you don't use them.
And that's the present policy.
That's
yes. The present policy.
Okay.
Which isn't that pretty good? So basically you're like in Walt's case, if he doesn't take 6 days, you get 10 and you lose 10, but you've always got 20 in the bank regardless. You don't, you always carry that 20. So right now Walt's got 30 days because he hasn't used any. And in 3 weeks, they'll roll over and the old, he's going to end up with 10 new ones and 20 in the bank. So at any given time during a year, an employee has 30 days they can use. Is that the correct way? Am I reading that right?
Well, that's the way it presently is.
Right.
The proposal is to change it.
I thought that isn't 30 days a pretty good amount of sick leave?
Yeah.
And now that we've adopted the policy that there is the ability within a department to share days if employees feel that that's needed and helpful. So there's some more there. I mean, I don't think that we need, I know originally it was, they could only carry over 10 so that you would only have 10. And then a few years back, the board voted to double the carryover from 10 to 20. And we all, and I know that may have been before I joined the board, but I know it was done. And so I think that that's a good policy and I don't really think we need to play with that.
I don't need.
So you'll have 10.
I was going to say, I think there's a disagreement.
Right, Mary? But you'll have 20 sick days in the bank plus your additional 10. So in any given year, you're going to have, if you've worked for the town for a minimum of 2 years, you will have 20 in the bank if you don't use them. And then you get
That's
an
the
additional 10.
proposal. That's
Well,
the
no, that
proposal.
is actually the current policy. All of the, I'm looking at a couple of different personnel, folders that I have here, and I haven't found one that is the updated. Somewhere I had one, but I know the board changed from the 10-day carryover to 20.
In 2013, there was a
Yes.
board meeting where the policy was being discussed. And that's when there was a correction that said there'd be 20 days carry forward, not 10. That should have been included. And what they said in the meeting is that should have been included in the policy. It was omitted.
Right.
So what are you saying, Bill? That they should have 40 days?
No. There
No.
should be nobody gets more than 30 days.
Right, that's what
Right.
that's what we just said.
Yes, but
Right.
the proposal is that nobody gets more than 20 days.
Yeah, with a maximum of 20 days of sick leave. But the way this is already read, if the employee does not use all the employee's sick leave in a year, the employee
Carry
may carry a maximum of 10, but then it says 20 sick leave days forward to the next year.
The 20 is there because was adopted but never included.
Yeah, so that's what needs to be there. And then
So
with
it
the
should be
maximum of 20,
plus 10, right, Kurt?
yeah, it needs to be 20 plus 10. It needs to be 30
Yeah.
sick days.
So why don't
It
we
needs
just,
to be a maximum of 30.
Yes.
right, that's it.
Okay,
So I moved
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
We're doing polls, not.
We're-
poll,
You
whatever.
poll.
yeah, I'm good with putting 30 in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be
Maximum.
30.
Well, I'm not good with it, but I'm outvoted, so we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you don't allow your employees to roll over a good amount of sick days, you're going to incentivize them to take the sick days,
right.
which we don't want.
We
Yeah.
also don't really have
Right.
a lot of this. So it's-
Wait a
And,
minute,
and that is,
My point,
and
my
being
point
able,
was very,
being able to carry over the 20 plus the new 10 has been the policy since 2013 or whenever the board changed it.
right, but
Yeah.
we have not had a policy that allowed transfer of sick days within a department, and that is a significant benefit.
but you know what, Don? If somebody has a sickness like cancer and they need the extra time and their fellow department members want to give it to them, who the hell are we to say no?
the meeting
Well,
in 2013.
I agree with you, Sharon. That's exactly why we put that in there, but
Yeah.
that's a very progressive change to the policy. So what I'm
The
saying
thing
is, that,
is,
you know, when you
well,
do something,
one of our longest,
ahead.
Don, one of our longest employees in the town is a testament to the not misusing the sick days because he knows he's got them and he doesn't lose them. And,
That's correct.
and Walt is a testament to that. He has them there and he knows that he's got those days if he needs them, and he hasn't abused it in his entire employment to the town. So, you know, like I said, you put you hire quality people and you get quality results and you get what you need. So I think we just
Well said.
go with what we got, move forward.
I just want to make it abundantly clear that these changes and this whole personnel policy is not directed at any single individual, nor should it ever
Right.
intended to be directed. And so,
No,
Who said it was?
I had two other changes.
Okay.
I'm excusing myself because I'm going to go.
The new language that you've added about the transfer of sick days, I would suggest you add transfer of accumulated sick days to other employees within a department.
doesn't it say that, Mary?
Yeah. The sentence you've added about the transfer,
Employees may transfer accumulated sick days within a department. How more,
Yeah.
how much more specific?
All of that's fine, but I would add accumulated sick days to other employees within a department.
Yeah, that does.
Who
make
the
sense.
heck else would it be? I just, well, if they're transferring them within a department, is they got to transfer them to another person in the department. So, but that's fine. That's within a department.
And the last change proposal is on page 11. It's where you added the sentence.
What
I would
page again,
just take
Mary
off,
Ann?
okay, page 11.
Yep.
The added language. I would take off the last few words. I would take off the words "in the event of legal misconduct." So I'm not changing anything. The referrals can still be made to local or state enforcement agencies. I'm not sure what you mean by legal misconduct, or, so just take a "in the
Well,
event of."
the only referrals that you could make would be because they're elected officials.
Right.
Under the state policy, elected officials can be removed for egregious misconduct, legal misconduct in the state of Vermont. In other words, if they're a felon or they're convicted of a sex assault and they're charged in whatever, we've had these instances at the state level. So that's what I wanted to emphasize, is
I
that
don't think we have to spell it out.
why would you make a referral to a local and or state enforcement agency?
Because you want them to investigate. You're not sure that there has actually been legal misconduct.
No, that's not.
But
That's not what it says.
we would already be making, in that case, if we thought we're already making a decision that they've done in the event of legal misconduct. We're saying they have, but how do we know? I can see Mary's point that if there's a problem with an elected official, you just report them to the proper local or state enforcement agency for whatever. You're kind of narrowing it down when you spell out something like that.
I guess.
It'll get done either way.
Yep.
If we think there's a problem, we're going to report them.
Put a period after agencies.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. Right. I think the committee did a very good job. Thank you for
This
your
is really
work.
good.
Thank you for your scrutiny, Mary. There were some really good suggestions in there. So let's get the suggestions, especially the language from VLCT bill, incorporated in. Make the changes that we have decided here tonight and put a clean copy for our next meeting. Would that be, can you make it?
Should we have Bill send that to VLCT and have him check over it?
No, I don't
between now
want
and
to
the
do
next
that.
meeting?
No, I don't want to do that. We put too much
It's
work into this.
free. It's
I don't
free.
care.
They're just gonna give us suggestions. They're not gonna.
No,
They're not gonna edit
I don't want to do that.
But we
This is our
could.
personnel policy. Did we do this the first time? No, we're not going to do it. We've taken.
No, and
the
you had
template.
objections. You had objections the first time because I was the one making them.
Well, we've used their template, Mary. For God's sakes, how much more do you want to give them leeway?
No, you used their template last time and there were changes. So
Yeah.
anyway,
We've
I
incorporated
would ship it
most of
up
the
there.
changes. We've incorporated the changes based on VLCT language, It just delays this process even longer. And I am absolutely opposed to the governmental lethargy to keep postponing things and postponing things.
this is the first time we saw this, Don. So I don't
Oh,
think
that's
we're
right.
delaying it unduly.
We've done a good job here tonight and we'll print out a document and it'll be fine. And if there's a problem with it, they'll come up and we'll change it. So, because we have the right in here to do that.
That could come back and bite us someday, Don, when,
Well, there's
you
a
know,
lot
some
of
of this,
things that could go back and
when
bite.
some of the wording that we've added
I don't
for
act
some
up
reason
to-
doesn't have legal standing.
No, it has legal standing. Come on, Kurt. Let's be let's be realistic.
We got 2 weeks. I'd ship it up there, and if VLCT doesn't get it back to us in time, then we can deal with it
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Don, just hear us out. Just hear us out. What the hell do we have to lose? It's a freebie that they look at it. If we don't agree with what they say, then we have the option to not agree. But it's not going to hurt us to send it up and get a free legal checkup. on it.
Evaluation. You're outvoted, Don.
Yeah, that appears to be the case.
It's free.
Yeah, well, you know, I got into
And
this
if we don't
job.
like it,
I got
Well,
into this job. Okay. for
Nothing's
one
free in this
specific
world. It's
reason.
prepaid.
Well,
Shut up.
I got into this job to get things done, and I don't like the lethargy of government, and people that say, well, government works in so small turtle-like steps, and you know, and
I
every
don't like
time
the
you
town
say,
being
well,
sued.
Dave,
every
you
time you
can't
say,
change
well,
your
it's
mind 'cause
free,
he's
and
gonna
let's
give you
let
the
them
damn
do this,
phone.
and let's
Well,
let
we
them
did-
review this.
I don't
When
get
you
the
let them
idea.
review it, then you're letting them create your personnel policy, and
we don't have to agree what they say. But if there's something they see, because this is what some of these people do for a living, then we can digest it. And if we agree with it, we do it. And if we don't agree with it, it's still our policy. But
well,
another set of eyes sometimes doesn't hurt, because this is what somebody else does.
I am taking up drinking, folks.
Not on the job, ma'am. It's
You
against
can't, there's a
the
clause
policy.
in there about that.
I'm not in here.
Sharon, the personnel policy doesn't allow that.
They just told me that. No wacky weed either.
Yeah, but you're an elected official, so I don't know if you're exempt.
okay, well, I'm playing Pontius Pilate on this
Refer
one.
her to the necessary authority.
I love you, Joey. Oh,
Excuse me.
I don't shift it up. Shift it up.
send it.
Okay, I'm done
I'm
Oh, thank you, Mary.
for that.
Let's move on. We beat this to death.
I'm playing Pontius Pilate on this one. I'm washing my hands. Bill, you send it wherever you want to send it and get the copy
Make
going.
sure that the changes are incorporated in the copy.
Whenever it comes back, whichever year it is or month it is, we'll be fine with it, and we'll get it done eventually. So I'm good with that. It was a good session tonight, and it was needed. We need to take the time to do what we did. So anyways, we got the Energy
Into
Commission
executive
done.
session.
Oh, we've got to do this.
The next item of business is item B. If you look at your packet.
We were doing committee reports, weren't we?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Our next committee report will be from Mary and Kurt on the Townwide Celebration Committee.
This is real quick. We met, Bill, we made changes to, and then Kurt took a look at the flyer that will be distributed at school before the kids leave. We agreed it looked good. Thank you very much, Bill. It's at the printers, and we will get it up to the school and begin to distribute it. And we'll have copies on the select board desks when we get it back from the printers. That's all for Townwide Celebration.
When do you expect that, Mary? To
Bill, when do we expect that?
They're in production right now, so I would expect either late this week or beginning of next week.
There.
Been approved, so it's already in progress.
Thank you, Bill.
Beautiful. Now that's a schedule of events and times too, Mary.
Yep.
Not, well, somewhat, but we still have other things that are being added in. People want a part of this, Don. It's a pretty exciting day.
Well, it is, and
Cooking, Mary. That's the Galloping Gourmet.
Well, the reason I ask is that I have been in contact on a couple of occasions with Congressman Welch's office. Rebecca Ellis is his statewide director here in Vermont, and she wants a schedule as soon as she can get it, so that Peter might be able to make plans to attend. And I think that would be a really
So
nice thing.
anytime, for that purpose, anytime between 10 and 2, that's the bulk of the activities.
Right.
Between
Well-
10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And we'll
But-
turn
but-
over the mic to him whenever he arrives.
And most of them are continuous activities that would take place between 10 and 2. So you don't have some
Yeah.
specific one that's only like from 10 to 11 or.
I think Happy Cow ice cream truck is only going to be there for an hour. That's from noon to 1.
Yeah, they're the most limited.
And that's pretty
And
much
maybe the
when,
helicopter.
Moo moo buckaroo.
Yeah, they're always subject to availability.
and that's pretty much when the barbecue will take place too.
When the gourmet hamburger and
Thank
hot
you,
dog
Mary.
buffet.
Yeah.
Yes, 11 to, when are we? 11 till we run out of food.
Right.
There you
Or
go.
I drop dead in front of the violator.
I'm gonna create an event on our Facebook page. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet, but
It's okay.
we'll get there. and
We
then-
still got stuff coming in, so. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. So. Thank you. Any questions from anybody? Any further questions of the Townwide Master Gourmet Committee? Ta-da. Okay. Highway Committee. Go, Joe.
Okay. All right. So last Wednesday, we met up on Cheney Hill Lane to discuss the water problem up there. The new appointed road commissioner, Tom Fuller, Jason, Walt, myself, and Bill, and the Peter Yankowski, the resident up there. And the determination is that the best way to solve the problem is to reconstruct the cul-de-sac, so it's going to be reground, material will be reshaped, taken away, added once we figure out what the base is, and we have a very firm confidence that we can change this and make the water go somewhere else other than down Mr. Yankowski's driveway. I think some of the problems up there are due to the natural freezing and thaw cycles that Vermont has, and the road has changed and it is heaved or whatever, but that center of that cul-de-sac is 12 inches higher than the lowest driveway, which we all know water runs downhill. So Mr. Fuller said that they would be able to get there as soon as they can, incorporate it into the paving. They are doing our paving, so reclaiming the end, and then they will shim and overlay the entire road from Pinnacle Ridge Road down. It should be fine, and we should be able to solve the problem. There has been no paving done to that in the last 3 years, so this problem has started or was there maybe due to paving, but I think we got a good handle. There is money in the paving budget to handle this, so we're good there. The other thing that came up is that we will need to start the process to find someone to plow Rick McCurrier's route. And once we get Dave on board, and we'll come up with a plan as to how to go about doing that. And that's pretty much the gist of our meeting.
Any questions for Joe? Oh, good job, Joe. So hopefully we'll get
Okay.
that problem solved. And that was a good introduction, Dave, to the town process. And I'm sure it was your baptism.
By fire.
There you go, by fire.
I'm a little excited.
Any other questions of Joe? Hearing none, we'll we'll go to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll go to new business. We've taken care of A.
Wait, it isn't?
No,
Oh, Don?
Yes.
Don, sorry, under old business, we should take up JP sidewalk.
Well, don't we have, wait a minute.
No.
Oh.
It's
no,
not on here.
No, we don't have it on there, so we need to, well, we need to take it up someplace. I was gonna put it under any other new business, but we can do whatever you want, Mary, you know?
Let's do it.
Well, we've got someone on the line who's been here quite a while.
Right, let's do that now then, out of courtesy to Christina. Sorry, Christina, just a rather long meeting. Let's go ahead and do that. And Christina, you have the floor. Take it away.
Hi,
Thanks for your patience.
let me just share my, oh, no problem. I know you guys all have a lot to talk about and get through in your meetings. Okay, so I think I have it shared. Everybody should be able to see the front page of the presentation. I know the board got the, I think you had the draft report from approximately a month or so ago. What we did with that was sent to the state to V-Trans for review. And they came back with their comments about a week or so ago. And we have now incorporated all of their comments into the version you received today. And I do apologize for it coming in shortly before your meeting. My kiddo came home sick today, so didn't get as much done as I expected. So the copy you received today, I'm still calling it a draft because I want to be able to incorporate any comments from the board tonight into the final version, which I would get out tomorrow so that you can use it for your funding application, if you so vote to move forward with that tonight. So the V-Trans comments were fairly minor, so there won't be a lot of changes from what you saw in the draft report. There were 2 comments from V-Trans that I will specifically discuss as we move through the presentation. And I'm going to try to go through this really quick so I don't take up too much of your time. So let's see. There we go. Just a recap on the study area. We are starting at the on the south end. Let me just move this over somewhere. Starting on the south end at the basically at the city boundary, and extending north along Route 7A or 7 to Post Road. At our last meeting, the board selected a preferred alternative. So just to summarize that, it's approximately just under 1,700 feet of paved 10-foot wide shared use path along the west side of Route 7. The path would be mostly at grade, following the footpath that's there. There'd be a grass edge zone between the road and the sidewalk to keep the pedestrians and cyclists a little bit further away from the vehicle traffic. We'll be utilizing the existing curbing where it is. And then in the area that's north of McKinley Ave, where there is no curbing, we'd be adding curbing there to create the grass edge zone. If we don't have curbing, then people tend to drive on it and park on it, and it does stay grass. There would be a retaining wall needed along at the appliance store just south of the intersection at McKinley to maintain parking there and access. The existing guardrail that's on the west side of 7 between McKinley and Post Road would be removed and replaced with a safety rail behind the pathway for pedestrian safety. That's because there's a culvert there and we don't want people falling down into the stream. There will be a catch basin required at the low point between McKinley and Post Road Because when we add curbing there, it's going to, it won't allow drainage off the road that currently exists. So we'd have to put in a catch basin to collect that and get it off the road. And then at the bottom there, you see I have street trees with a question mark. That was one of the comments that was provided by VTrans. And that's one of the things I'll be looking for input on tonight is in that 5-foot wide grass edge zone that we have, there's an opportunity to add street trees or other vegetation. One of the VTrans representatives commented that it would be nice to have street trees. One commented that it would be nice to have some type of shorter landscaping. So there are some pros and cons to this. If you would like to include anything in regard to landscaping, we can certainly do that. Landscaping tends to make it look nicer aesthetically. It also adds to traffic calming. People tend to drive slower when there's big objects next to them, such as trees. It provides shade for pedestrians. So there's a bunch of benefits to it. The cons are that we would have to, during final design, it would have to be detailed out to pick types of trees or other landscaping that would not hinder visibility for turning movements or for signage along the road. So I can take questions on that at the end if you'd like. So here's the concept plan. This is the southern half of our study area. So on the left side of the slide, that would be the south end. North is as you move to the right. So we're starting a little bit inside the city boundary there, just to connect in with the sidewalk that's in the city so we don't leave a gap. The new pathway is shown along the west side, which is the top of Route 7 on the slide. And it's kind of in a light gray shading, so you can see it there. It's 10 feet wide, 5-foot wide grass edge zone. On the north end of the slide is where a retaining wall would need to be for some parking to maintain parking. And in this segment, there are 4 utility poles that may need to be relocated. Some of them definitely need to be relocated. Some of them we might be able to squeak by. This one is the northern half of the project, or the study area. So again, on the left side, we would have another retaining, there's 2 retaining walls at that property, one on either side of the southern access drive. And that's to maintain the access and parking there. Again, existing curbing will remain. And then north of McKinley, it's about where that note that says permanent easement needed. It's about there that the existing curbing tapers away, and we would have to put in new curbing from that point north. The distance here, so as I'm sure you all know, the shoulder gets very wide in this location. South of this, the shoulder is only about 1 foot wide. But once we get up to this point, the shoulder widens quite a bit. I believe it's like 8 feet wide here. The minimum shoulder width allowed by VTrans is 3 feet typically. And we tried to get confirmation on this from the district, but they didn't give us any final decision yet on if they would allow the 3 feet. We're showing it as 3 feet, but that would have to be discussed and get a determination from VTrans at some point. And that could be done during final design. If we have to go a little bit wider, it just pushes everything out just a little bit more. So it makes that easement a little bit bigger. So that's the one permanent easement, I'll note. The rest of the project should be able to be done within the right-of-way, the existing right-of-way. There may be a need for temporary easements depending on grading and elevations. At this permanent easement, there will be a need for also a temporary easement just to provide more space for construction. The drainage structure that I discussed, there's a note on there about that, install new catch basin. And that would have to be determined with topographic survey of what the low point is there. And we put right at the low point. And then when we get to Post Road to the intersection there, the existing traffic signal, we did confirm with VTrans that it is very easy to add a pedestrian signal there. It's just running a new wire across the overhead support and putting a signal and a push button on each side of the crosswalk. They said that signal was recently, it was upgraded not too long ago, so it can accommodate all of that. Typical cross section, the road itself would remain the same. We wouldn't be changing travel lanes at all. In that area south of McKinley, as I noted, the shoulder is only about a foot wide. And then we would have there's the existing curb, we'd have our 5-foot wide grass edge zone and the 10-foot wide shared use path. As we move into the area where the shoulder gets wider, we would narrow that to 3 feet, hopefully, but that does need to be, again, confirmed by VTrans. And then the rest of it, the 5-foot wide grass edge zone and the 10-foot wide shared use path remains the same. It is possible to reduce that grass edge zone a little bit. Once we reduce it, we need a barrier. So the only place I would consider reducing it is in the area where the shoulder is wider. And that's because there's a wetland there. So in order to minimize impacts to the wetland, you could reduce the grass edge zone and you would have to add like a guardrail there just to protect the users on the shared use path from the vehicles. So that is a possibility if the wetlands impact is too much. There will be a wetland buffer impact one way or another, but that is an option for minimizing it. So impacts, again, there are 4 in the whole project area, 4 utility pole relocations that may be required. Poles can typically be placed within the grass edge zone, so that would minimize any easements required for them. There's also the potential for minor manhole and valve box adjustments. Anything that happens to fall within the pathway limits might have to be raised or lowered vertically to match up with finished grade. The drainage improvement is the catch basin I discussed being added, and that would just have a pipe that extends out to the west and daylights behind on the west side of the pathway. Minor permanent temporary easements. So as I noted, that one property would have a small permanent easement and a temporary, and then any other temporary easements could be determined during final design, but they should be fairly minimal. And then the wetland buffer, wetland or wetland buffer will have an impact, and that would require permitting, likely require permitting depending on the size of the impact. So this is the other big thing that changed since the draft report. So you'll see on the top line, we have the estimated construction cost for 2022. That's $440,000. That remained the same as it was in the draft report. There were some minor adjustments in terms of quantities and unit line items, but the estimated cost stayed the same there, construction cost. The change came in that VTrans suggested increasing the inflation rate that we were using. So we were using 3%. That's historically what we've always used for annual inflation. However, as we all know, what's happening this year, we're well over 3% right now. So we looked at the average over the past 5 years. That was 3.6%. So we used 5% in this. So we adjusted the 2026 estimated construction cost to show a 5% inflation rate per year. And that, in turn, increased the total project cost. So I think in the draft report, it was $605,000. And with the extra inflation, we're at $675,000 now. And for anybody who's questioning why we have 2026 numbers on here, it's because the process to go through VTrans funding takes 3 to 4 years to get through design, permitting, and right-of-way and into construction. So that's why we're showing the project cost as $2,026, because that's likely when you'd be constructing. If you were to utilize local funding and pay for it not using any of the V-Trans funding, pay for it just directly through town funding, you could construct it a lot faster, but you also don't get the benefit of all the grant money then.
Right.
Funding opportunities, the Transportation Alternatives Grant, the details are there. That application is typically due in the fall. And then the Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant, that application is the one that's due tomorrow. That one is typically the better option for these types of projects. But the Transportation Alternatives Grant can also be used if you don't get funded in this round of bike ped grants. The schedule here, so if you have your grant application tomorrow, grant awards are typically around September, and then it takes some time to get the grant agreements done with the state. So you'd be doing your design consultant procurement in January of next year. You'd have to do another RFP for that, or RFP or RFQ. Your design would take, we have it as 2023 to 25 here with bidding would happen winter of 25 and construction in 26. So where we're at is final report will be submitted tomorrow, and the application for bike ped is due tomorrow. And then we do have to get final approval from V-Trans still on the revised report. So we'll submit that to them at the same time we submit it to you. But this will at least allow you to get your grant application done. Normally we get the V-Trans approval first, but I wanted to make sure you guys could get in for the grant application this time. And that is all I have. So we can take any comments or questions.
That's a very thorough report, Christina. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions from the board?
Just one. Do we have to accept the draft tonight in order to present it to V-Trans as part of our grant application tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. I think you can still use it in your grant application because, like I said, V-Trans hasn't accepted it yet either. So I think if you wanted to wait and have some more time to digest it, that's fine. Bill can still use it in the application.
Okay.
Additional questions, anyone?
Frankly, I think I would rather just say we approve the draft.
I would as
and
well.
And we understand it will go to the state V-Trans, but so I'd move we approve the draft.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. We approve the draft for the JP's sidewalk. Discussion.
JP can pay for this.
That's what the next motion is.
I like that. Go for it, Mary.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? I hear none. It's unanimous. So we got to go with that, and Bill will be submitting that.
So I have one more.
Mary has one more.
I have one more, and that is to authorize Bill on behalf of the town to apply for the bike ped grant with no cap, but a 20% match to fund this project.
Second.
This will be the second time we voted on this, but that's all right. No problem. All those in, any discussion on the motion? It's been made and seconded. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, that's unanimous as well. So there you go, Bill. You've been released to do your good work. And thank you, Christina. Good luck, and
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear about your son. I hope he's feeling better. I know he's feeling better knowing that you were there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think he is feeling better now. So hopefully he continues to feel better. I did have one question for you on the street trees. Do you have any thoughts on whether you'd want to put something in there for it or just leave it open for now?
Can we leave it open and then go talk with our local conservation district and hit their annual tree and shrub sale next spring?
Yes,
Or
and you're also gonna
forestry,
have to work
mhm.
with, you're gonna have to work with V-Trans on it anyway, because they're gonna have to approve whatever the town ends up wanting to do. So, I think it's fine to leave it open.
Okay, thank you.
They don't want green leafy bushes planted there, do they, Christina?
One person said, shorter, shrubs, so I don't know.
I
Okay,
like
Just-
trees. I hate
just-
growing my
just-
bushes. They've got coffee
Just for a
cups in.
comment for folks to think about, if the town's gonna have to maintain that little green strip along the highway or along that thing, you might want nothing planted there, because mowing around trees is no fun.
God, I know I do.
And you will be required to maintain it. So, yeah,
I
So
so
keep
that's
that in
definitely a
mind.
consideration.
Sidewalk, he can maintain it.
Yeah.
We'll get him a little lawnmower, he can go
Get
down
them
there.
some
Yeah.
goats.
I can,
Goats there.
I can tell you, driving a dump truck sitting up higher, the trees are always in your line of sight.
Are they?
You
Yeah.
can't
Always,
see.
always.
Yeah, always in the way.
Yeah. And
You
with
won't
the
be
cost-
able to see you won't be able to see the people on the sidewalk. You'll be running them over if there's trees there.
Yeah.
practical suggestions from those that have the experience. Always appreciated.
And if you want a firsthand look at this, go down to Tenny Brook Market and try to pull out and go north. And you're looking into the trees that the city has planted, and that is just in my pickup.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, you
anyway,
get up in the big trucks
get a
and
good
cars.
report. I like this.
Well, it's the same thing with Noble Ace Hardware, trying to get out of there. Difficult enough. Yep. Well, it looks like we're underway
Okay, could we?
with
go into
another
exec-
project of indeterminate length. Well, we'll hope that we get some speedy progress on it from this point. Thanks, Christina, and thanks for your patience tonight. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
So let's go now to the Velco agreement. You have seen the missive from our town attorney. We have two options. My suggestion would be option 2, and we just take the polls and be on our way. But whatever the board.
That'd be my thought too. We'll just sign. VLCT said
We're covered.
we'll cover it, and the odds of something happening is very slim. So
Is that a motion?
don't move.
Second.
I heard a motion for approval of the agreement with Belco on the release of some telephone poles, and a second to that. Is there any discussion?
And we'll authorize Don to sign it.
And an authorization for the chair to sign on behalf of the board, which if it's on my desk, I will come in after hours and do. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Done deal. Go to C. We've all taken care of the personnel policy. Meeting room request. D. This is in your packet.
Postponed.
That was pushed off or
Move
postponed.
that to the next meeting because they need someone to open the building for them. They don't have it yet, so that we're gonna move that to the next meeting.
Good. I like it.
So. Where is it here? Let's see. What's your pleasure on that?
They're gonna move it to next meeting because they don't have anybody that can open it right now.
Oh, well. What was the date that they wanted?
August.
Yeah. Good time.
We got plenty of time.
Don't they have plenty of time to find somebody between now and August? Or can't we just approve it pending receipt of the person who will close the meeting?
Well,
Get
we
it
haven't
with?
done that way for other folks. We do
Right.
want to
We
know
get
who the
Jack the
person
Ripper,
is.
so.
Yeah, we want to know.
I did check with them. They are fine for waiting 2 weeks.
Okay.
No objection for them for waiting 2 weeks.
I didn't hear that, Bill.
I did ask Teresa, who is the one that submitted the request. She has no objection to waiting 2 weeks for us to make a decision.
Okay, fine, we'll wait 2 weeks. That takes care of that one. Robert Clark is unable to meet with us tonight, and we'll hear from him.
Good.
Any other new business to come before the board? We do have an executive session that we need, if we can have a motion for that. There's two matters, one from the police
So
department
moved.
and another one correspondence from our town attorney.
Okay.
So move.
Motion, I'll second one for a
Police.
security matter for the police department and the other for
Correspondence from our town attorney.
legal advice from town council.
Right. Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now in executive session. Bill, if you want to. We back in session?
Yes.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Betcha.
Any opposed? We're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, folks.
Right.